Alrighty guys, welcome back for more Path of Exile. So in this part, our main focus is to get the next Void Stone. We only have 2 more to get, and then that's basically the biggest part of Path of Exile completed. So what we're going to be trying to do is defeat these Guardians. So there's these 4 Guardians for each of the Shaper and Elder, and you have to defeat them in order to get access to these other bosses. And then once you defeat those bosses, there's like a super boss that combines basically both of the bosses, and you got to fight them at once. So that is the Shaper and the Elder. So we're going to go ahead and acquire these maps. So there are 4 maps that you need to actually acquire. It's going to be the Chimera, the Hydra, the Minotaur, and I'll put the names down below in the pin, but the main part is just acquire these maps. You can acquire these by just getting them as drops. Same thing with like these areas occupied by the Enslaver and Constrictor. There's a few other ones, but you can also get these when you go into the Atlas mission. Sometimes these can roll here, sometimes you can go ahead and purchase them from Kyrak. It's kind of random, but you can trade these items with other players. So if you want to actually look it up over here, you are going to go to, of course, the Path of Exile trade website and then acquire these. So for example, you can type in any of the map that you are missing. So this one is like Pit of the Chimera, and then these ones are different for the Guardians. So let me go and show you this, because this is actually the most important part. So occupied, it'll say it's as an implicit, and then you have Enslaver, Eradicator. So you need to get all of these. Okay, so if you want to purchase these from players, go for it, or if you have them, go for it. And then also at the top of the search over here, so that's how you get the Elder maps. To get the Guardian maps for the Shaper, you do want to type it in, so you would need Chimera. So it'll say Pit of the Chimera Map, and then you just hit search, and you'll see what these are going for. So you'll need to get 1 copy of each, and then you're going to get these fragments. Once these bosses die, you're going to combine all of them and kind of summon the boss, so to speak. So that's like the main part. As far as our build goes, I've been kind of doing some experiments with the newer ascendancies. This time I went back and did the tincture stuff. I also went and opted in for Oath of Magi. Again, I'll post my build down below in the pin if you want to look at it kind of as reference. We have gotten some more upgrades since the video, so I was using worse gear in the video, and we don't have anything insane yet, but I did try to run the Oath of the Magi with no sockets here, and then I put a Thunder Fist because this item is super cheap now. You started off at a couple Divines, and now it's just like several Chaos, and you can get your self a pair of Thunder Fists, and then you could basically have another source of damage. Instead of what I was running before was my Artillery Ballista in a 6 link on my chest, but I'd swapped it over to this just because I want to try out the new League mechanic in terms of using the new Ascendancy, and then I also threw in a Tincture. Again, all of this is just kind of something to take note of if you want to try it, but I was also experimenting with Ghost Dance now that I have like 1,000 Energy Shield. But again, take everything with a grain of salt. Your build, if it's perfectly fine and you're happy with your lightning arrow or ice shot or tornado shot, you can mix and match whatever you want for the most part with bow builds. It's relatively flexible. Even on the Ascendancy department, kind of messed around with, instead of running the Mirage Archers and the Focal Point, decided to go with more projectiles, Ricochet. But for bosses, Focal Point is pretty good, but again, it's relatively flexible. But I will provide the POB down below for the gameplay that you are about to see. So anyways, let's go and cut straight to the gameplay, and you guys will see kind of how we do these bosses and how the mechanic works. Alright, so let's go ahead and do all these maps, and I'm going to make them easier by just applying a Scour Orb. Especially if it's your first time, I think it's worth just doing it this way. So we got Chimera, Hydra, Phoenix, and the Minotaur. I'll start off with the Minotaur. I feel like the Minotaur is like probably the hardest, but they each have their own mechanic. Alright, so coming up to the Minotaur, I'll try not to do too much DPS to him because I want to show you the mechanics. So I probably won't even throw up the Artillery Ballista. So when the Minotaur burrows under the ground, what you do want to do is be ready, because he's going to pop up and that can one-shot you. The rest of his skills, it's not really that big of a deal. There's like this AoE like thing where like these rocks fall down. Just don't stand under it. But we'll go over his mechanics. There's also these like lightning beams. If you go through them, you're going to get shocked. We'll go ahead and fight him. You can see his mechanic. So there's his big slam, but you're going to sit farther away. It's hard to see him. So see how he came out of the ground like that? That's the move that will actually kill you. And I'm trying to show you guys this example. I can melt him like instantly, and I want to show you guys how he works. So I made a portal right before it. I recommend you guys to make a portal right before as well. But my goal is to show you guys how to defeat him, and I'm going to do so much DPS where I will kill him instantly if I do it properly. So you'll see that there are these little areas, and these can overlap where these rocks will fall on you, and you can see it will pretty much kill you. And that is because we are playing a Deadeye, which doesn't really have too much defenses if you just sit there and tank. When he goes and burrows on the ground, that's going to one-shot you pretty much every single time. But eventually, once his health gets a little bit lower, and I can get his health a little bit lower right now. So he'll come back up wherever he is. So if I just do this, he'll start to melt relatively fast. So, oh, well, at least you guys got to see it for a second. But in between these areas, there's going to be like a lightning. And if you walk in between it, it will shock you, which will make you take more damage. So that'd be the thing to kind of watch out for with the Minotaur. But with all of these bosses, each one of them will drop a fragment. So on the Chimera, it'll drop the fragment of the Chimera. So we're going to require to get all 4 of these for every single one. And they each have their own mechanic, which needs to kind of be explained. I say kind of because, well, we'll have so much damage, we're going to melt them so fast. But I think it's still good to actually teach you guys how to actually, like, play it. Alright, so now we are coming up to the Chimera. So the Chimera actually has an attack where you see like this giant, like, red circle. Just don't stand in it when he does it. But he actually cannot be damaged. Like, so you see this red circle right there? That's, like, the only thing you need to be taught, with the exception of how he disappears. So he'll disappear at some point. And you have to kill a bunch of, like, small trash monsters. And then, also, if you see, like these orbs come out, if the area's influenced by the Shaper, you might just see these orbs come out. It's kind of random. But eventually, on this boss, he will turn into smoke. We can actually swap to Barrage if we want to right now. Get some more damage out of it. So eventually he'll turn into smoke. When he does this, you have to walk through all of the smoke, and then he will reappear. It's random on which one that he'll be under. But that's basically all you need to learn with this guy. I can make a portal just in case, but it's a pretty easy fight to... we should still probably actually swap to Steel Skin over Molten Shell. Because at one point we were running Duressos, and I actually want to go back to that eventually. And the reason why is it makes your character way tankier. But for the bosses, most of the times, they'll just do so much damage to you that unless you know how to, like, avoid their attack, and if you get hit by them, you're just kind of dead. So don't get hit by the yellow balls. There he is again. He's doing his thing. We're going to have to walk through the smoke. And then, now, oh, there's the red thing. Don't stand in that. And no matter how much damage you do, you cannot, like, kill him in 1 second. It's impossible. The only way to actually kill him is you let him go through all his phases. Ooh. Watch out for the orbs that come out. Again, that's going to be random. If that shows up or not. Oh, got hit by, like, a Hadouken from the side. And sometimes it happens if you get hit multiple times consecutive. That wasn't, it was funny, it was like I died to this. That wasn't even like the boss. Oh, he's doing his thing again, so we gotta go through all the smoke. Watch out for the red circle. And yeah, there we go. And that is going to be the next one done. That was the Chimera. So now we've got the Hydra. So as far as the Hydra goes, all you got to do is just not get hit by the balls that come out from the sides. Super easy. I'll try not to do too much damage to him. See, these balls come out from the side. And he'll throw some, he'll kind of shoot you, but like most of the stuff is relatively like easy, I would say, on him. He's not like a very difficult boss, so let's go ahead and smelt him. But yeah, just don't get hit, just don't get touched by the balls. I did have a shrine buff, but I spec'd into shrines, and it makes it much easier, but yeah, we have enough damage to melt all of the bosses, but I want to teach you guys the mechanics. You can see where the balls kind of come out from. But that's like the only thing that you need to kind of be aware of is just don't get hit by the balls. The rest of the stuff is pretty easy on the Hydra. Alright, so now we're coming up to the Phoenix. So he has this charge up move. When he's charging up, that's the only thing you need to actually watch out for. This has essences. I'm going to just kill him so it kind of declutters the battle arena here. But He'll throw a bunch of like small tornadoes. He has a attack that just goes straight. The only thing that you need to watch out for is when he's charging up. See how he's charging up right there? Move to the sides of the map. Other than that, it's another like face roll boss. Let me throw my turrets down and then you see he melts. These bosses used to be a lot harder, but through time, they're not the hardest bosses in the game anymore. But yeah, that was the Phoenix. But sometimes he'll like spawn little phoenixes. It really doesn't matter. The only thing you need to watch out for is when you go, grabs the swords and he's about to slam down. It's a pretty big AoE, but just go to the corners or the sides, go away from him, and you'll get him. And now that we've combined all of these, we're going to now do the Shaper. So, to do Shaper, you put in all of the fragments, and they have to be in this correct little shape here, in the square. If they're not in the square and you go do it like that, it's not going to work. It has to be like this for it to work. But let's go ahead and go on in, and let's get the Shaper done. So how the Shaper works, it's kind of like an extensive fight. But what you're going to be doing for the Shaper is in the very beginning, there's these 4 bosses, and they're random that you fight, but they're like so easy. It's an absolute face roll. This is nothing. Sometimes you can get unlucky and it's a boss. This boss is kind of one of the unlucky ones, because no matter how tanky you are, that thing just does an insane amount of damage. I gotta resummon my stuff over here. But yeah, you get 4 random like boss encounters, and then you have to fight him multiple times. And if you want to, for some of these bosses, since they do an insane amount of damage, it's optional if you want to try to push for the most damage. It can be viable to actually remove your like grace, because if you get hit by the slam, you're dead anyways. So it is a legit strategy for some bosses to just ramp up your damage so high that it doesn't matter. Like, if you can kill the boss before it can interact with you, right? Then, you know, the best offense is the best defense, right? And to answer your question, respecting to get a cluster jewel, if you're doing fine, then, I mean, feel free to go ahead and swap to it if you need a cluster jewel, but cluster jewels are kind of intimidating for people. But it's not too bad. Like, you just literally get the same cluster jewel. Ideally, you want to try to look for one that has 8 passives, because otherwise you'll end up spending another skill point. But as far as this boss goes, he's another one of the unlucky ones. We got really unlucky. We had... So the Sea Witch, you have to kill her, and then you have to kill her again. That guy, he has a couple, like, you can't kill me phases. Anyways, let's go ahead and go into the next area. So this is the actual, like, boss fight. This is the Shaper. So while he's talking, we're going to throw down our little like totems. And so he's another boss where you cannot insta. So he's going to shoot out some balls, and he's got a giant beam. When he shoots out his beam, walk away from it, and when you see there's some purple, that's when he's going to be doing his slam. And when you see the white balls, you have to walk to the edge of the map, because you don't want to place them in the center arena. And that will last permanently until you beat his phase. So now we just gotta watch the balls. He's doing his slam attack. So the purple one, like, that will one-shot us. When he shoots out his laser, and again, try to put these in areas that are around the corner. So he'll eventually go away, and he'll just spawn monsters, and you just have to kill the monsters. It lets you refill your flasks. And it's to make sure Zana doesn't die. That's the person that helps you on this one. He's doing his slam, so just keep on moving. Oh, he decided to slam my, like, turret or something. And so, eventually, he will teleport you to another location. And while he teleports you to another location, you are going to let him regen. So he's regenerating his HP right now. So you want to try to go as fast as possible. At the very end, there's like a boss, but it's really not that big of a deal. It's a pretty easy face roll boss. soon as we get to it. We can also swap, okay, to Barrage if we want to. It's another thing. He wants to buy an item. That's fine. So sorry, we're gonna have to make him wait. We gotta do this. So that boss, it does like a slam attack. But if you're in the middle of doing a boss, don't feel like it's bad if you ignore someone. It's part of Path of Exile. Everyone kind of expects it, honestly. Alright, so now we're in the actual harder spot. So he's gonna do a slam attack. We're just gonna move out of the way. So when she says to me, you actually want to go towards her. You can't really damage him in some of the areas, but you want to stand in here. Otherwise, you're gonna have to dodge all of those. Also, he just did his laser. So his laser is usually when you want to attack, but I'm gonna set up that he's doing a slam attack. Just keep on moving. He hit us too many times. Sometimes visual clutter is definitely a problem, and during that, I was just doing so much damage. I wasn't really paying too much attention. So sometimes, if there's too many things going on, you may not see it, and that's fine. It's part of like running artillery ballista. Just too much sometimes. So now we can't damage him. We're gonna have to just fight these monsters. See, he's just spawning them in. Try not to have these pop in the middle, because now I can't stand in that. That won't insta-kill us, but it will do damage. There's another one. If you can, try to overlap them. Now we're going to stand over here while he shoots out. And sometimes he'll, like, surprise you. Like, you're in the middle of, like, waiting, and he'll just spawn in. Oh, there you go. That was kind of an unlucky one, where I was trying to set up the little orb on the outside, and then he started lasering us, and he just started shooting balls. Sometimes there are times where it does feel unfair, but out of a lot of the bosses in Path of Exile, he's relatively fair. But you've got 6 portals, don't worry about it. If you die a couple times, it only matters if you die all 6 times and you don't kill him. So he's doing his laser right there. Oh, there's a little like orb that popped. So he's doing his laser. It's our cue for damage. So he's doing a slam right there. And we're going to try to pop that over there. So when she does her little thing with the orb, go inside of it. But sometimes, yeah, he'll throw like a white orb. Or he'll like laser you before like that thing is even finished. And it's one of the more annoying things that can happen. Try to pop this over here. You see the arena is getting kind of filled with all these balls. There's his laser. And we get teleported out again. So we gotta go back. Right now we have barrage support. So I should swap back to my other thing. You can even throw in Tornado, even Hydra Sphere. Those are all like okay options if you have empty jewel sockets. But the reason why is because there's a lot of downtime, so summoning all like the turrets during that is good. Boss over here. Just throw down our turrets. You see visual clutter is kind of a thing with this game. It's kind of annoying. There you go. He throws an AoE on the ground, so you have to watch out. And you can move in here. It's probably smarter to do it, so you'll be ready. But it's like sometimes he'll just like laser you like immediately right after. It's really annoying. He's doing a slam. Two balls will try to pop him. And when he says gaze in the abyss, most of the time it'll be the laser. And now you see we gotta dodge like We've just got a lot of stuff to get around. And since we have Culling Strike, once he's at 10% HP, it's basically like a free. That's why I like having that, having Culling Strike. It's just really nice. Go pop that on the outside. And if Zana dies, she can die. She actually has HP. The fight becomes like really, really hard. Because then she can't do her little bubble thing. So you lose out on this. But you don't want that to pop inside. That's bad. So. But we should be able to pop him on this one anyways. He's doing a slam attack. There we go, and we got him. So we got the boots. Unfortunately, the boots aren't very good. So the better thing that you can get with him is the Dying Sun. But we have the boots, and they're not really worth anything, sadly. But it's one of the things that he can drop. But the important thing that he did drop over here, where is it? Is the Fragment of Shape. So our next goal is to fight another boss called the Elder. Now you can do the Elder or the Shaper first, it doesn't really matter, but our goal is to get one of these, and what we're going to need, we're going to try to get the Fragment of Shape, the Fragment of Knowledge, and then the Fragment of Terror and Emptiness. So Shaper drops Knowledge and Shape. The other one, the Elder, will drop the Fragment of Terror and Emptiness. And then you need to grab all 4 of those to do the Uber boss, which is going to be a stronger version of basically the Elder fight and the Shaper fight combined. And once you do that, you'll get your next Void Stone, and then you can get the last one by doing Maven. But you can also buy these off players. You don't actually have to do it in this sort of order. You can just go and buy the Fragment of Shape, Terror, Emptiness. You can just buy them all if you happen to have the Chaos Orbs. But if you're lacking it, well, you got to do it this way, and you have to hope that they actually drop. But that is the Shaper now defeated, and we got one of the parts to do it. And you can trade these and sell these with other players if you want to as well. But I would recommend, unless you have a friend that can carry you through and get your Void Stones, you want to try to do this because you want to get the other 2 Void Stones. And we're almost done with the whole entirety of the game. Okay, and now we're going to be doing these other 4 bosses, and you can acquire these maps by just trading with other players, or you can actually get them. You can go to like Kyrak, and sometimes maybe he'll have some of them. You can go to the Atlas mission, sometimes it'll be there, but we're going to grab another 4 parts just like we did last time, and all these 4 parts will open up another boss called the Elder, and we're going to be defeating the Elder now. And I'm just going to fast forward to the bosses, as well, it's like the only part that matters because it's just a regular map. But one thing that's important, normally where the boss spawns on these other maps over here, where it's like influenced or it's occupied by the Constrictor or whatever, where the boss normally stands, instead of the boss being there, what will happen is the boss will actually get absorbed, and it takes like 10 seconds. It has this like long animation, so if you have your shrines, it's going to take a second. But as far as all these bosses are pretty much just a pushover, what you want to try to do though is stand behind them, but they are so easy, and they got to get like infected or whatever. But yeah, these bosses are so easy anyways. There's not really like too many mechanics with them that you really have to pay attention to. But after you do enough damage to them, and they're all pretty much like this, I feel like it's almost redundant to go ahead and show off like this is the Enslaver, this is the other one. The other like ones like the Chimera, the Hydra, like they actually have mechanics where if you weren't told, you might be kind of lost on it. But like with this one, I mean, just kind of shooting. There's really nothing to it. If you can get behind them, it's helpful, but they're like pretty easy. So that was one of them down. We got to take 4 of them down. You actually can't make portals here. You have to like wait for the animation, or you just log out. It's like faster. But these ones are pretty much a pushover. But I guess I can show them off. And it takes like 2 seconds because they're really fast. Next boss over here. So this one's putting us in a little arena, and they always have to go through this extravagant little animation every single time. But it does look cool the first time you see it. But they really don't matter. This one, there are like lasers, but just don't stand in the lasers. And don't get hit by the balls that come out from the side. But most of the stuff is pretty self-explanatory. But make a portal right before you go into the boss fight. The off chance that you do actually die. Those don't do that much damage. And it's kind of hard to dodge every single one of those. But eventually, you'll do enough damage, and they're going to warp out. You're going to fight them again. So this is the Eradicator. And yeah, this one's like so easy. Alright. Next boss fight. Just like all of them, it's got a long, extravagant animation. Did too much damage, so he's got to go away. If you have returning projectiles, it does make the fights a lot easier because I don't even have to aim. Going away again. Do a charged up shot, but it doesn't really matter. It's pretty easy. No problem. Then we have another fragment. We're almost got it completed now. Alright. Next boss. Purifier. It's already been purified. Forgot to make a portal. Hopefully we won't die, otherwise we have to walk all the way back. But I think we'll be okay on it. But at any moment, sometimes playing any like evasion-based character, generally you're just going to be a lot squishier, so sometimes you might get unlucky. But it's another super easy boss. There we go. Shouldn't matter. There we go. Now we have collected all 4 pieces. Alright, let's go ahead and do the Elder now. So, just like the Shaper, throw in all the pieces. And we're going to fight the boss. The apps of value and meaning. So you're going to go in here, go to the arena. And one of his attacks that you'll need to be aware of is like a donut. So he's attacking kind of in the front right now. When he does this donut looking attack, you want to stand inside the donut. If he freezes you, you might rip. He has this like freeze move that he does. And we're going to start to drain, but we can pop a potion, we're fine. Oh, we took a lot of damage over there. But he's a pretty easy boss, I'd say. Now, when you combine him with fighting him and the Shaper at the same time, things become a little bit more difficult. Because then you have to fight him while also doing all the Shaper stuff at the same time, which we're going to have to do. That's how you get the other Void Stone. And after you did that, that was like the old like end game super mega boss. But during this phase, you can just kill stuff. It's pretty easy without ranged build. With melee, it's no fun because you gotta walk around. But on the next rotation, we can hit him up with the Vault Ice Shot. But the Elder is a lot easier in my opinion. The only thing is like when he does his donut move, like I didn't know what to do with the first time I fought him. It's just you stand on the inside of it, because if not, well, it's going to do a massive amount of damage. You're going to rip. But yeah, there's a bunch of these portals that come out. And you want to destroy the portals, because otherwise they spawn stuff, and that's no good. Because the stuff that spawns stuff can throw some other stuff on the floor. It's no good. But it's pretty easy for ranged build. They kind of look like flying octopuses. There we go. And then you want to stand next to her. And then we get the Fragment of Emptiness. Oh, we got some unique gloves. What are they? The Blasphemer's Grasp. What are they worth? Absolutely nothing. So we got one of the other pieces. Now, you can keep on doing this again and again, and you can get all of the Fragment of Shapes and Emptinesses. But I'm going to go ahead, myself, I'm just going to go buy them in Chaos Orbs. And then we're going to do the Uber Elder fight, which is, it used to be like the oldest, like, end game hardest boss in the game, but now it's Maven. So there's basically, after we defeat this boss, which we're going to do the Uber Elder, after that boss, then we have the Maven, and then that's pretty much it. There is Sirius, and he's kind of like an optional thing, but he's not as hard as Maven. Maven is by a long shot the hardest boss in the game, and it's because it requires you to do a memory game. Alright guys, let's go into the Uber Elder. So in this fight, we're going to be fighting the Elder and the Shaper at the exact same time. And I want to do this one over here kind of post recording. Usually like to do these like live commentary, but I want to be able to pause it and show you guys exactly some of the things that you can encounter, and we are going to show off what you should not do if certain things happen, and you're going to see it over here. Because I'm kind of showing you guys how to play the game, and so I'll be doing things that normally you wouldn't do, but if it's your first time, you might accidentally do. So going into this fight, it is actually one of the more difficult fights in the game. This used to be like the final boss of the game. So as you go in, you're going to see there's Elder and the Shaper. So important things. When you see one of them being shielded by some purple stuff, that means you have to hit the other one. Your main goal is to get down to the Shaper because he's actually the harder boss. You want to make sure Shaper's on the screen for the most part. You're basically fighting two bosses at once. And so the Shaper is going to be the more dangerous one of the two, because if he charges up his like big Hadouken, that thing over there, if you run into it, you are kind of dead if you're running in the same direction as it's going. And sometimes you literally just get unlucky and you are pathing in that exact same direction that the beam is going. So ideally you want to shoot once and move, shoot once and move. And you can see over here, I mean, it does a lot of damage here. But the main focus is trying to get down the Shaper and make sure he's on your screen at all times. This little donut thing, you got to stand in the center of it. So unfortunately there, he did the beam and I kind of walked down. If I continue to walk up, well, you can see that the donut over here, I need to be on the inside, and I went down, and I could have stand right where it says Resurrect in Town. If I stand close over there, I might have been okay, but it was just kind of unlucky. He beamed me and I went like kind of down into it versus away from it. And sometimes that can straight up happen. And so you have 6 portals. Let's make great use out of them. So that one was like a mistake on my end, but this is one of the more difficult bosses in the game. And you have 6 portals. You can use them all. I mean, it's totally okay. Now, when you enter, do not do this. So this was like an example of, again, showing you guys how to play it. I don't have any XP anyway, so it doesn't matter if I die, unless we rip all 6 portals. Now, the most important thing right here is, as soon as you go back in, let's say you died, you walk back in. Don't go back in immediately, because you could be running into a degen, you could be running into a lot of different things. You have a immunity phase, and see what happens over here. I died instantly because there was the donut going on. The donut kind of expands, and then it pops at the very end. If you get hit by the pop, it's pretty much a GG. So ideally what you want to do, and I actually mentioned this before in my things, but like when you go in, you're going to see at the top, there's that thing that says 10. At the very top, we could stand still for 10 seconds. We won't take any damage. We can let the boss do a couple mechanics. Maybe let the Shaper balls shoot a little bit. You can see the Shaper right now is purple. That's important. That's why I wanted to go ahead and show you guys this kind of post commentary here, because it makes things easier. So we're going to go ahead and go to the side over here, try to pop the ball away from the middle. Ideally, just don't cover the center with the areas of the degens. So once you start getting the bosses a little bit lower, eventually there's going to be just a ton of these little orbs everywhere, and it makes it harder and harder. So the fight will get harder because, well, there's just a bunch of pools of degens, just like in the Shaper fight. So we're going to continue to just lay down some DPS and just kind of shoot and move. And again, make sure that you see Shaper on your screen. Ideally, staying kind of close to him is better. So you can see the donut is activating. It doesn't do any damage until like the very end of it, but sometimes it's better just to stay in the center so you don't have to like rush towards it and then Shaper hits you. Unfortunately, that time, this was a situation where I was paying attention to one thing. Okay, so you can see I saw the Shaper balls over here. I tried to move out of the way, and the thing is going to do the donut attack, and that thing will just rip you every single time. So I try to move out of the way. Usually you can survive like 1, sometimes 2 Shaper balls, but you can't take like the whole set of volley of them. That'll usually get you killed, even the tankiest builds. So you can see I'm going in, and this is what you should be doing. You should be waiting. See, like the beam doesn't affect me. I'm immune for 10 seconds, up to 10 seconds. As soon as I move, though, I'm going to be taking some damage. You can see that one of the balls is chasing me, so I'm going to try to explode it on the side, and that is definitely what you want to try to do. So right now, I got 2 balls chasing me. I'm going to try to pop them all in that kind of the same area. You can try to overlap them. That is definitely like good. I just place them anywhere except for the center. And again, just trying to get down the boss that you can hit, because right now we can really only damage the Elder here. So he's doing his little donut thing, and we're going to stand in the center. We're going to stand in the donut hole until it explodes, and then we can go around. But I mean, yeah, you don't have to stand in the center the whole time, but I like to, because, well, there's a giant beam over there that almost ripped us. But I like to stand in the center, and the reason why I like to stand in the center is because, again, I'm not really rushed to move into a position sometimes. If, let's say, like a Shaper, like, he beams me, I'm usually like, I want to move out of the way, right? But the other strategy is to stay on the outside of it until the last second, and then go on the inside. So Shaper's doing a slam attack. That will usually kill you if it does hit you, so you gotta watch out for that. There's also, like, the Elder can also hit you with some tentacles, and that can do some damage as well. But the main thing is that you want to, again, just like the Shaper fight, put those on the outside. And if you die several times on this, and even if you fail it, hey, the first time I did this fight, I was like, dude, this fight is impossible. The first time I was also playing this, I was playing melee, which is, like, terrible in Path of Exile, especially for, like, your first time doing this, because the boss fight is not easy at all. You see these tentacles come down, so I'm just shooting and moving. And since we have the Fortress Ballista in, like, a setup with the Thunder Fist, that will deal damage as well. So unfortunately, right here, we took some damage from the Elder. You can see he kind of just, like, comes down. Again, this is where I was distracted by trying to dodge on the balls, and he's going to do an attack over there. So sometimes the reason why this boss fight is frustrating for a lot of beginner players, and it's myself included, is because there's just, like, so many things going on. You're like, okay, I got to set up this ball over here, Shaper shooting out all these balls, and then you have to pay attention to, like, what the Elder is doing sometimes, because he does that move where he does his little suck, and that will do some damage as well. So there's just a lot of stuff going on, and, like, this fight is technically a skill issue, but, like, I've gotten to the point at some points in some builds where my DPS is so high that you could just, like, walk in, do so much damage, die, and then you just keep on repeating it, and then you'll just eventually beat the boss without really even having to pay too much attention. Some people's damage gets to that point, and while we don't have the best gear right now, eventually we will get to that point. If you wanted to invest into maybe Tornado Shot and being a boss killer, that is a viable option as well. But I like to be more of a mapper. Most people kind of prefer to play mappers anyways. It's a little bit more enjoyable because how the bossing works in Path of Exile is usually you have to buy the materials from other people because, well, if you're just a bosser, your map clear may be a little bit slower, depending on your build. There are faster builds, but ideally you want to get both of them down, and, well, we just killed the Shaper, and then the Elder followed relatively soon. So then now we have our favorite map slot unlocked, which is just a thing that we'll talk about later. And then pretty much at the very end, you will get your Void Stone, and you will socket that in, and you will also get a book that has some skill points. So there we go. We just took down the next boss to get the Void Stone. And then we have one more to go ahead and do. And that's going to go ahead and wrap it up. So that's going to be the end of this part of our play session. The next part, we're going to be defeating Maven, and that's pretty much the final core section of the Path of Exile endgame experience, and we'll talk more about what you can do in the endgame for challenges to get extra free cosmetics and rewards. But anyways, drop a like on your way out, and I'll see you guys in the next one.